Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a comparison video. I have two sort of heavy duty type folders here, the steel wheel Apostate and the cold steel Recon 1. Before anyone comments, I know this is called the Apostate and I am a minister, so maybe it's wildly inappropriate for me to have this, but I think it's okay. I did sprinkle it with a little holy water before starting and said a little prayer, so we're probably going to be good to go. Anyway, wanted to put that out there because every once in a while I get some comments. So these two knives, are definitely in the more heavy, harder use type of category. There's some significant differences between them, but they're similar enough that I wanted to kind of do this side-by-side comparison. Now, the other thing I've got to say here from the start is I am heavily biased in this video. I love the Recon 1, and I would argue, and I have argued, that it's probably, when considering value and utility and a number of factors, it is about the best hard use folder on the market right now. And I still believe that, right? If someone said to me, Kevin, you can only pick one of these, without a doubt, I would pick the Recon 1. So that's my bias, and I'm trying to be as fair as I possibly can in this. So just wanted to throw that out there right from the start. Beginning with size and weight, let's see which one carries better in pocket. All right, we've got 9¼ inches on the Recon 1. We've got 8 9/16 on the Apostate. The blade length here is 4 inches. The blade length over here is just over 3.5 inches. All right, we've got 5 inches of handle versus 5.5 inches of handle. 3¾ inches of grip area on the Apostate and a full 4 inches on the Recon 1. Now, one thing that's interesting here is the cutting edge is nearly the same. There's only a 1/16 of an inch difference. So both of them are basically 3 5/8. The Recon 1 is like maybe a 1/16 longer, and the weight is quite close, 5.2 ounces on the Recon and 4.8 ounces on the Apostate. Now, given those numbers, this is a pretty easy pick. The Apostate has, in terms of size and weight and how comfortable it is to carry in pocket, I guess I should show you one last thing here, and that is when they're closed, how much real estate they're going to take up, and you'll get where I'm going with this. So pretty obviously, the Apostate is easier to carry around with you and delivers basically just as much cutting edge. So size, weight, and carry clearly goes to the Apostate. Let's move over to the blades. This is a much, much tougher discussion. I want you to look at the blade of this steel wheel Apostate. I want to point out fairly thick stock right here. Okay, this is 157 thousandths thick, but it's only 18 thousandths behind the edge. You can see a very substantial wedge here. Then with this top swedge and the gentle clip here at the end, right? This is really trying to carry as much strength and as much durability out to the tip as it possibly can, while still being thin enough behind the edge to cut well. And the Apostate does a really good job. This blade is well thought out. The Recon 1 is also trying to be a pretty tough blade. We've got a substantial flat grind here. The clip point, it does get kind of fine, but notice, all right, well, there you go. Notice that the Apostate is actually a little finer in the tip than the Recon 1, and that's because the dimension behind the edge here is thicker. Okay, so literally the Recon 1 carries more material to the edge. All right, and so they've achieved toughness that way, while the Apostate has gone a different route and tried to be fairly thin to kind of balance the cutting. Now, in contrast to that, by the way, I didn't even give you the specs on the Recon 1. It's 133 thousandths. So 133 thousandths versus 157 on the stock thickness, 30 thousandths behind the edge versus 18 thou behind the edge. So this is a really different, two different approaches that achieve a very similar end goal. And in fact, doing EDC type tasks, if you're cutting cardboard or opening packages or cutting rope, these are almost indistinguishable. And in some of those tasks, let's say you're carving wood, the Apostate stands out a little bit more. It works a little better. The one area where the Recon 1 is going to shine is in food prep. All right, because of the thinner blade stock, because of that lower, that less dramatic wedge effect, right? What I mean by this is, so, if this is the Apostate grind, this would be the Recon 1 grind. It's a little thinner, and so cutting up an apple or a potato, it's going to do a little nicer than the Apostate. Everything else, though, guys, is too close to call. All right, and so I'm going to have to call it a tie in all but food prep. All right, so do with that what you will. If you do a lot of food prep with your knife, then the Recon 1 is going to be a great option for you. If you don't, then these are, half of one, six a dozen of the other. Now the action is a little easier. The blades were really the toughest of all the discussions here. Both of these blades are very similar in performance. Now moving over to the action, this is a different discussion altogether. The action on the Apostate, it's a titanium frame lock with a bearing flipper with really, really enjoyable detent. It's fast, it's smooth, it's drop shut, all the stuff that we've come to expect from a modern titanium frame lock. The Recon 1 is a triad lock, and it's fairly stiff and, not something you're going to easily flick open. You can get to the point where you can get it open pretty easily. There you go, with a little bit of wrist. These two, look, it's really, really simple. The triad lock is going to be a little stronger. The steel will is going to be faster and a little more enjoyable in terms of smoothness and fidget factor. Okay, so these two locks are so different that you kind of go, okay, whichever one you prefer. If you, and here's the thing, if you're looking at a lot of cold steels and you go, I just can't do that triad lock, I don't enjoy it, then the Apostate might be something good to look at. If for you lock strength is the primary consideration, then the triad lock is clearly the way to go. And so those two characteristics, it depends on what you value, and they're just very different to really call one definitively better than the other. Moving over now finally to the handle. This one again is pretty easy. Now the materials are significantly different, but so I guess, yeah, here we go. So materials, if you want something titanium and cool, then the Apostate is the way to go. If your primary consideration is ergonomics, then it's an easy win for the Recon 1. When you feel that, get this knife in hand, it just locks in. It feels like it was just meant to be in a human hand. The Recon, the Apostate is good. It's not uncomfortable by any stretch, but it's not in the same ballpark as the Recon 1. Like the Recon 1 is fantastically comfortable, while the Apostate is comfortable. All right. So no difficulty picking from that regard. And in terms of toughness, to me, you've got full G10. I like the choice of full G10 with the titanium, and then you've got all G10 here. I will say the Recon 1 is going to be, tear up your pockets quite a bit. I don't go in for the modification that Nut and Fancy loves, where he sands this off or does something under here. Sometimes with my cold steel knives, I will pry this clip up just a little to make it a little easier. That's about the only thing that I'm interested in doing. The Apostate, of course, is going to go into the pocket pretty easily with that smooth titanium under the clip, right? So for me, out of all of the various features here, the biggest one is comfort, and in that case, the Recon 1 definitely wins. So conclusion, look, the Recon 1 is one of the best hard use folders in existence. It's very budget friendly. It's not perfect, but it's pretty stinking good. Now, that said, if you want pretty much all of what the Recon 1 offers, but in a cooler package that's maybe a little more fidget friendly, satisfies that desire to have something cool and high end, then the steel will is a great option, especially considering that, if you're going from, say, a cold steel looking for hard use, the next obvious choice is zero tolerance. This is going to be cheaper than I think any zero tolerance that I know of, and going to perform pretty well as well, and so maybe even better depending on which zero tolerance you pick. Okay, so because of that, the Apostate becomes pretty compelling, and of all the features that the Apostate has, the blade stands out to me. It's just really, really well thought out, really tough, really durable, and reliable without sacrificing cutting power, which I think is important. And both of these do a good job of that, but the Apostate seems to have just thought about it a little more. And we'd probably be having a different conversation if the Recon 1 were just a little thinner behind the edge, or better yet, if one of them had a hollow grind. So there you go, guys. I hope that's information that's worthwhile to you. I hope that maybe helps you kind of think through this decision for yourself. And let me know in the comments what are the features that you look for. And part of this comparison is going to be personal preference, right? Some of you are going to immediately look at these two and you're going to know, I only buy titanium frame locks. I hate the triad lock, or I only buy triad locks, stuff like that. So let me know what your preferences are down in the comments. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to check out the channel sponsors, White Mountain Knives and Southern Edge Knife Works. They're a big help to the channel. And a big help to the channel is, of course, you guys watching, commenting, liking, all that good stuff. So thanks a lot for that. We'll talk to you soon.